This is Papa Smurf. You're listening to Our Lifestyle, the podcast, with ODB and the Mayor.
Yo, 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 it's ODB. This is Our Lifestyle podcast. We're getting ready to jump into the fresh episode, and we want to thank our title sponsors, which includes Custom Car Show Productions. They have 3 key events every year. Orange Beach Invasion every March in Orange Beach, Alabama. Scraping the Coast every June in Biloxi, and Bayou Showdown, which is every November in Slidell, Louisiana. We also want to thank Mini Truck Showdown Family, which includes their event, their flagship event, the first weekend in June 2022 in Las Vegas, Mini Truck Showdown. You can go on Facebook or Instagram for more information. They also have Kern County Showdown, which is going to be in Bakersfield, California, the first weekend in February 2022. Thank you so much. Support those that support the scene, and on to the episode.
All those other things, just at least have the old cigarette machine, and that would probably work. And that'll probably, that'll work for ODB.
Yeah.
I said probably old cig machine and a 40, and he'll probably be in.
Telling you, man.
I thought so. I knew I was right.
Well, you want to bang this out?
Oh, I definitely want to bang it out. Oh, I love it quick.
Yo, 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 it's Our Lifestyle Podcast, episode 281, and guess what? I heard him cough a second ago. I think Mickety Mike the Mayor, unless it was Hank. Mickety Mike the Mayor, are you there? Did you dial into the conference?
I am here, and I am so glad to be on 2 weeks in a row with ODB and the Airhead Nation.
Dude, this episode, Johnnie Garage Johnson, I've wanted to have the big homie on a while, and he's going to be on the title guest. You may have seen from the cover art there, but Johnnie Garage Johnson, I met him, believe it or not, in this world we live in, Mike. I met him through YouTube, and then I realized about the Facebook group that he has, but I don't want to give too much away. But dude, he's a cool dude, and I love his channel, Johnnie Garage Johnson.
Well, I have no clue who this guy is, so I will definitely get on the old tube and check him out and look him up.
Yeah, and I gave out his name, but the name of the channel is Hardcore Garage. So I'm
whoa, wait a minute. Hardcore. So are we really talking about, trucks here, or are we talking about other things?
Well, we've been saying that, we do want to expand, our topics, and it kind of, you have my understanding, my intel has told me that you even have a tie-in to like hardcore content back from it even made your computer crash, I heard back in the day. I mean, was it mini truck related?
Here is the story. This is a true story. This is no bullshit. This is not made up. So L&O back in the day was a show, okay? I went on the website. Hardcore Minis is who puts on L&O, okay? And I go to hardcoreminis.com, and it absolutely killed my computer. I was supposed to go to hardcoreminis.net, and I screwed up, and my computer went no good, no work, no more.
What was the sound?
The whole child. It went.
No, don't even say the word you were about to say, because I don't get down with even hearing that word.
Dude, it popped all over my damn screen, dog, and it fucking just shut me down.
Yeah, that's crazy. But what was the sound it made again? Dude, that sound is the throwback term of the week. I mean, who remembers having dial-up modems? Dude, Mike does.
Dude, these kids have no clue nowadays, man, where you just flick on the damn computer, go to your phone, and boom, it's instant. They don't know the struggle, man. They don't know the struggle.
Well, dude, we have a jam-packed, it was fun to have a little bit of nostalgia there with Mike's computer. He's not good on the keyboard, but this episode, Mike, we do have, as I mentioned, Johnnie Garage Johnson, Hardcore Garage. Check him out on YouTube. And the overview of this episode is brought to you by our family at Graphics Mafia. If you need stickers for your event, maybe you need a club logo, or you want to just re-up your stickers for your brand, whether you have a logo or not, hit up Graphics Mafia. It's GRAPHIX Mafia.com. Mike, they're also on Instagram, Facebook, and I think TikTok.
Well, that reminds me, Jay, we got to get a list together and send it on over to Ryan. And hey, buddy, and make sure we got our stickers stocked up for our trip to Mini Nats.
I can't wait. And speaking about shows, we want to remind everyone that if you're listening on Friday, it's going down. We mostly have talked about one of our title sponsors, Orange Beach Invasion. It's going down in Orange Beach, Alabama this weekend. We want to also remind you that the next event for our title sponsors are going to be Mini Truck Showdown, first week in June in Las Vegas. I'm hearing from a lot of old school kinfolk and peeps that they're going to be coming out to Vegas the weekend of June 4th. Mini Truck Showdown on Facebook and Instagram for more. We'll be talking to Corey in the coming weeks to talk about the event and any new related updates there. Now, Mike, this one's going to, let's be honest, man, we say this a lot, but I've got to hold myself to it. We didn't get the spring break last week that the kids and the students and some of the parents got, some of the teachers as well, and that's all due respect to all of those kinfolk. But we are going to have a condensed intro here just because, juggling a bunch of stuff and, trying to kind of keep up and maintain. But Mike, we can't forget about our awesome listeners, right? They're the ones that keep bringing us back to record every week and keep that content going now, going on 3.5 years, brother.
Bro, it seems like yesterday, bro, and I cannot believe we've been doing this for as long as we've been doing this, and I've been able to keep let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? I've been able to keep you in line to be able to do this for 3.5 years. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, because the ankle monitor, man, like Hank taught me, if you can do the hacksaw gimmick, you can get that ankle monitor off, and then you can, kind of live a little bit of a free life. You know what I'm saying? But
well, hey, I tell you what, if you can stay out of trouble, as good as Hank does, then I think you'll be all right.
Hammer and Hank Norris always coming through. But here's what we're going to kind of do is just reinforce. Jesse came on the last episode. Thank you so much, Severed Canada. Of course, Jesse Chomik, that is Jen Black is his better half, as we've mentioned. If you're new to this podcast, Mike and I generally have about 30 to 60-minute intro covering scene updates and a lot of different things, including the last episode recap. But what we would suggest is you hit follow and or subscribe, depending on what app you're listening, and go back and listen. This is 281. Go back and start with 280 and just keep going as far back as you can. You can always download Podbean and listen as far back as, believe it or not, I would never do it, go all the way back to episode 1. But thank you so much to Jesse and Jen for also making a cameo. My Severed family up in Canada, Alberta area. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And, dude, they're great people.
Absolutely, brother. And another good one. And, of course, great people. And I tell you what, they're killing it up there in Canada, brother.
Real deal Holyfield, brother. So we all often thank all of our sponsors, and one of our key sponsors and partners is Lone Star Throwdown, as well as Mini Nats. So listen, LST, the 11th annual just finished, but we're going to be looking forward to, give or take around the beginning of August for that pre-registration to open, unless we hear something differently. So just keep your mind on that for anyone that wants to go out to Conroe next February. And then, oh, by the way, Mike mentioned it a few minutes ago, Southeast Mini Truck and Nats. We just had Jason Bell on recently to talk about some of the key updates. You obviously heard from Rose Metal Works about the awesome giveaway. But what's going to be cool, Mike, is I'm hearing some rumblings from Barbaglia, which is DJ Mays, and some other folks, maybe kind of a little mini conference of some of the podcasts. All I can tell you is that that's the epicenter of mini trucks, and we're looking forward to Southeast Mini Nats here in about 30 days or so.
Yes, sir. And for some of those updates, as far as just let's put it this way, all the mini trucking podcasts out there, all together, one place, on Twitch, and you don't want to miss it. So keep your eyes and your ears open because more details are coming for sure.
Yeah, no beefs, but we may get Mike to come off the top ropes. You know what I mean? There is I'm hearing there is a little bit of beef kind of festering and brewing. So we'll have to see if Mike ends up cutting a promo. If I want anyone to cut a promo for me, it's going to be Frank. You know what I'm saying? Frank the Tank. We love Frank from Aftermath. And if he can pull up with the outfit in the Isuzu, dude, he's going to be my spokesperson. You know what I'm saying?
I just love the fact you called it an Isuzu.
Right. All right, so Mike, check this out, dude. We're going to, keep this ship rolling, right? Many of us have short attention spans, and this is going to be dedicated to everyone like me that kind of has a shorter attention span. And I just want to move right in, Mike. I got a question. Are you ready, players?
Okay, players, now it's time to get serious.
Are you ready?
Trivia with Mike. And Mike, I got to ask you this one. It might be, some people are going to nail me for this one and say it's too easy. It's a two-parter. This professional skateboarder rose to fame in the 1980s. What was his name and what was the team or crew that he rolled with that was famously, they named this crew, and that's who he rolled with. They made movies together and things like that.
Shit, I don't know the name of the crew, but I'm thinking Tony Hawk if I got to think of a skater.
Ding, 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 ding. You got part one. And for those that didn't know, he actually just broke his femur bone. Okay?
Ouch.
If you follow Tony Hawk, he's great in social media. He always gives credit to people even 30 years ago for photos. Just a great guy. But he recently broke his femur bone, and he was already back on a skateboard, dude. The guy is truly legend. And he, by the way, for those that might recall, I love telling the story, when Layin 720 on Instagram, right, when he made that Hot Wheels for me, and we just got a chance, to hang out with him, when he created that Hot Wheels off the Gleaming the Cube mini truck, Tony Hawk did chime in on that, and he talked about one of the scars that he got from filming that movie. So to Rich Layin, Layn 720, tip of the cap. Now, Mike, you got to, dude, here's the second part. When Stacy Peralta came up with the name, he didn't want to name it like, the skateboard crew or anything like that. They came up with a name for their crew, but it didn't really tie directly in. You wouldn't think skateboarding, but it was, it's a crew, and it's two words, and both of those words start with a B. Okay, and they made that series of films and things like that, Searching for Animal Chin and stuff like that.
So was it called A Bunch of Bad Bitches? BB?
No. So it was.
Was it Skateboard Bandits?
No, dude. This was one of the coolest names in history. It was the Bones Brigade, dude.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
So you got a half a tick mark this week, or should we give them maybe one Airhead Nation and then we'll take away one? So you kind of just level out. You know what I'm saying? Like a 6-0.
I'll take the half tick mark. That's perfectly fine with me.
Trivia with Mike brought to you by All Time Low Magazine. Visit atlmagazine.com. You can order a subscription or individual issues. Mike, I know people are kind of be at home, kind of scratching their head, thinking, man, what else are they going to cover? I'm just going to jump ahead and tell folks thank you to anyone that could go out to West Coast Customs this past weekend. Penn did a fantastic job working, I think, with Ryan, and I'm sure there were other folks, Ryan Fringling-House and the crew there at West Coast Customs. They had a celebration of life for Alex Anderson, also known as Alex Who. A lot of Severn, NC, and a lot of different folks went out there. So big ups, rest in peace, Alex. And thanks again, Jason Mulligan, for putting together the tribute video, my understanding. And he had reached out to us to pull down some of the audio, and just knowing that we had something that we could contribute, which was the interview when we had him on, means the world to us. But most importantly is, rest in peace to Alex, to his friends and family. We're sorry for the loss, as we've said before, and his legacy will live on, no doubt.
Oh, absolutely. And dude, the pictures, what a good time. And that's exactly what Alex would have wanted, man. Everybody coming together, having a good time, having a party, and that definitely sent him off in the right way.
No doubt. So, Mike, the last thing I got for you, okay, before I let you go, because I know you're trying to get, is the dog track still? There's one more night I heard down there in Naples, but then they're closing it tomorrow.
Yep.
So you're trying to get there tonight, right? That's why we're kind of speeding through this,
Yeah. No, and then I got to hit the bottle club afterwards.
right? Because you're not going in tomorrow, are you? You're calling out.
No. I'm calling in sick. Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Well, listen, I'm gonna Venmo you like about $8. Can you get a bet? I've been online. I got a bet that I want to do down there with one of the dogs.
Oh, absolutely, dude. $8 will get it done for sure.
Yeah, Hank's Helper. Have you heard of that one down there? He's the one that I'm betting on.
So it's not Santa's little helper?
No, not from The Simpsons, but it's Hank's Helper.
Oh, okay.
But
all right, Hank's Helper. All right.
I had a couple people text me, and they said, I cannot believe Mike doesn't remember when Mount St. Helens erupted. They said, we had, up in the Pacific Northwest, they go, dude, we had ash for weeks and weeks and weeks cleaning the cars off. And it wasn't just one person, it was multiple people. I said, Mike doesn't have a good memory. You know what I'm saying? I know Mike was young, you know what I'm saying? But he didn't remember that. But here's the last thought I got for you is 3 things, and I'm going to have one quick bonus, but 1981. So we're on episode 281. Why not think back to 1981? And here's a couple things that happened, Mike. Let's see if you remember this. This one's mind-blowing. In April,
I was 4 years old, by the way, Jason. 4 years old.
Right, just for the record, right? But in April of 81, we're coming up on April now, NASA launched the very first space shuttle mission. It's hard to believe that was only 40, well, we're in 2022, but let's just say 40, 41 years ago. Crazy, right? You thought like the first guy that went to the moon jumped out of the space shuttle, right? Didn't you think that he parachuted out of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And hey, I do remember that was Neil Armstrong.
Right. There you go. Because you were born then, right? In the 60s? All right, so here's another one. Cannonball Run, which is a famous 80s movie. That movie came out in 1981. And the cool thing about it is it starred Burt Reynolds, which you may know that, and Hal Needham. He directed it. He also directed the 1986 cult classic, Mike, Rad, which for those that didn't know, came out this week in 1986, right? But we're not talking about Rad. We're talking about 1981, and Hal Needham, the famous stuntman from Canada, he directed in, the Cannonball Run, which they did make 2. And the one bad thing about this one, Mike, is you can't really stream it anywhere. I can't find it anywhere to stream, and that kind of sucks. So
does that mean it's not a cult classic?
Oh, it's a cult classic, dude. It's really, I would say, a classic. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Do you know one other actress that appeared in that movie? Her name was Farrah something.
Jesus Christ. His name was what?
Farrah. Farrah Fawcett was in that movie, dude. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Farrah Fawcett.
All right.
I still have her poster on my wall.
Right, see? Now you know why I love the 80s so much, man. The 70s, too. IBM launches its first PC, which uses Mac or Microsoft software MS-DOS. That one's kind of boring, but here's the last and the bonus one, Mike. And this is one that I guarantee you, you may not know, and a lot of the Airhead Nation may not know. Okay? The first DeLorean DMC-12, that's the futuristic sports car. You know what movie that one was in, right? The DeLorean?
Bro, was that possibly, was that like something about Into the Future?
Right. We put that car on a shirt before, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
The first car rolled off the assembly line on January 21st of 1981. Okay, but here's the tie-in that a lot of people have drawn. Remember in the movie Back to the Future, how many gigawatts was it?
Oh, Jesus
Christ. Listen, it was 1.21 gigawatts. So they say the nod to the DeLorean was 1.21 January 21st, dude. How could you not put that together?
Yeah, how can you not know that? I'm sure everybody listening right now knew that answer to
That's
that
a Back
question.
to the Future tie-in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. There's no way that everybody that was listening to this podcast did not know that answer, but Mike. Mike's the only one that did not know that.
Someone had to have known that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, I'm curious to find out how many people actually message you and say, I can't believe Mike didn't know that. I knew that as soon as you asked the question.
Yeah, because the DMC-12, it came off the assembly line in, Ireland on January 21st, 1981. So,
because I know Scotty the Body, when he listens to the podcast, he always tells me, "Bro, I can't believe you didn't get that question."
right.
So
I bet
I'm curious to know if So I guarantee you, Scotty the Body knew that answer to that question.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. I'm looking forward to. I thought about it the other day when I told someone about how we went down the car fix to help with having the trucks there. Joel Cruikshank and Tim and Scotty the Body, and we all kind of helped to make it happen. Jeremy Bumpus obviously kind of pulled all the puppet strings, but I say all that, Mike, just because I think it's going to be cool. Someone asked me, well, when is it going to air? And I don't know. But it made me think, like, Scotty the Body really came through, like he was fishtailing the Mazda or the S-10 that day. And
yeah, the S-10.
He did a good job,
Dude, that V6 in there's no joke.
Real deal. But listen, I know you're itching. You're out there on the parking lot of the dog track, and you are itching to get in there. I would just tell everyone, again, our intros are typically longer. We do typically cover a lot more, but we're trying to kind of balance the personal life, working on trucks, right, which is important for us. And then, of course, Mike's you getting all the stuff ready for the AVNs in January, right, because they're back on. You're not going to SEMA now?
Yeah, no. Well, I told Mrs. Mayer that we're going to SEMA, and they just moved SEMA to January. I think it's January 4th to January 7th, and she got the plane tickets already, so we're on the way, bro.
I like the way you work, man. Airhead Nation, enjoy this interview with Johnnie Garage Johnson. He's a good dude. Stay on the rise and fishtail into next week. Keep it legal. And Mike, that's all I got, brother.
Bro, look forward to seeing the Airhead Nation at OBI this weekend. And if not, stay tuned, and I'll be sending pictures off to ODB, and he'll be posting them up on social media for us.
You got it, Mike. Be safe, brother.
All right, homie. See ya.
And I will say we have been talking mostly about Orange Beach Invasion, but Altered Metal is going down this weekend, so have fun. I know many of you are going to be going there. It's unfortunate the way kind of the show's landed. But the good thing is there's plenty enough to go around for everyone. And then, oh, by the way, on the West Coast, let's not forget our friends over on Forbidden Fantasy. They've got the show and shine going down. Ruben had asked me a couple times, hey, can you make it out? And I just can't. It just a little bit little too much going on. But it looks like I'm going to kind of reset and try to get to another show in the month of April. I do also want to remind you guys that in 1 week from listening to this, if you're a day one listener, of course, is going to be Sparks in the Park. The DeCorvers, they do such a fantastic job with that event up in Niceville, Florida. If you can, please make it out there. Lastly, ourlifestylepodcast.com. On the left side, you can select the OLP digital show calendar. And that's under the main drop-down, so you'll see where it says official OLP digital show calendar. You can tap where it says click here to subscribe. You'll get a pop-up. If you do have an Android device, you may have to send us an email. iPhones, it'll pop up and say, hey, do you want to subscribe? And for whatever reason, it doesn't work with Android unless I send you the direct link. All of the shows that we constantly talk about are on there. So thank you so much to everyone that supports The Real Deal. And we're going to roll in now to the audio. And I'll give a shout-out to a few more of the sponsors as we get going with Johnnie Garage Johnson from Hardcore Garage. Gotcha. Hey, as Mike and I mentioned, I'm super excited to talk to Johnnie Garage Johnson, man. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing real good, man. How about yourself, bro?
Man, everything is good, dude. When I came across, we'll talk about it, when I came across your channel on YouTube, I instantly became a fan because you're like just, this hardcore garage guy, and I love it, and we're going to talk about so much, but I want to kind of start off first and just say, do you mind sharing a little bit about, who you are?
Absolutely, man. How far you want to go back?
Yeah. So you grew up, in the Northeast, right?
Well, no, I was actually born in Long Beach, California.
Oh, I did not know that.
1970 to 79, I lived in California. So I mean, right off the bat, my dad was a custom motorcycle painter. He was into fiberglass and spraying like that big bass boat flake on bike, the Mexican designs and stuff like that. He was into that. So I was like, right immersed in the custom scene from as long as I can remember. My dad always had, it might not have been the coolest vehicle, but it had a cool paint job.
Yeah, that's cool as hell. You got to have fond memories. I mean, I didn't realize that you grew up in, LBC in California.
Yeah.
But like a lot of us think back, to the 80s and stuff. But I mean, in the 70s, I mean, surfing was huge. And I don't know, you were younger too, but like even skating and then skateboarding and all that stuff. Do you have any memories or photos that you've seen from out on the West Coast?
Man, I would probably have to go through some stuff and search. Like I said, I was 10 years old, was the oldest. So my parents was always taking me to Disneyland and places like that. I don't really remember so much about bikes or skateboards at that point yet. I had a pretty cool little motorcycle that my dad had made for me that, it was like your pedal bikes.
Yeah, that's super cool, man. I know it's funny. I've also stumbled across like a lot of different movie site locations and stuff, and you find folks that are like, even though I'm not a huge theme park person, I enjoy like the history of certain things, and they talk about Disneyland and the surrounding areas and stuff like that. But like, since you were born out there, I mean, that's just kind of cool that you have that West Coast connection there.
Yeah, I've always, I guess, felt that I had somewhat of a connection, but to the lowrider scene especially. Just my dad and mom were friends with a lot of Mexicans. My mom always told me that I learned to speak Spanish before I spoke English. We didn't have a lot of money when we lived out there, so they didn't really have anything of significance until we moved out to Ohio. So my mom and dad both got really good jobs. But so, my growing up has been so mixed.
Yeah.
In the different things that I've seen, and I think that's kind of helped mold me of who I am today.
Yeah, no doubt. And I was trying to think of the guy's name, Kurt Crucial, I had on. He has a channel called 80s Life. And he talked about when he was younger, on the West Coast, but he didn't remember also a lot of those things. Because if you think back then, like, my dad liked to take photos, but like if someone didn't have a camera, I mean, we didn't have things like we have now, of course, to be able to record, and even, video cameras weren't big back then. But that is cool how you have the kind of the good mix, right, of the different cultures and things like that.
Well, I moved to Ohio in 79, so I was in the middle of the 80s. I got to see all of that stuff. So that's really, in Ohio is where I was a skateboarder. I had my BMX bike was a JMC Shadow, if you're old enough to remember those. I had a Redline MX2 as my first BMX bike. I had a Hutch Trickstar at one time. Just kind of went through all of them phases, just like everybody else did, man.
Yeah.
I can remember buying my very first pair of Oakley eye shades. They were $60, and my mom freaked the fuck out.
Right.
Sorry about the language.
No, you're good. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff. Can you believe though how we talk about 80s a lot on here? I'm a big fan of it, but I always had a feeling that it was going to come full circle, but you never really know. And like, can you believe like how much the 80s has really just kind of came back, man?
Oh, dude, I'm so happy to see neon colors. As much as I hated them back then, I love seeing that stuff nowadays. It brings back some fond memories, man, of wearing the way too short shorts that we had that were the radical bright green or bright pink.
yeah, all the glasses and just the styles and stuff like that. And
oh yeah, OP. Do you remember that? Ocean Pacific.
Oh yeah. And I remember being in elementary school wearing Gotcha. But I also did have a few TNC surf design stuff, and they had I think there was a store here. It probably wasn't their official store, but like even those two guys out in Hawaii that have come back, and I'm sure you've seen the stuff, but with the Thriller crew, like all those styles and stuff, it really kind of shows that it's pretty much timeless designs because, who could imagine 40 years later, you're like, oh man, I want to have that. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly the way you feel too. I got to have that again.
Yeah. The other cool thing is you mentioned the bikes, and as I got older, I always wanted to get one and this and that, and then I met my buddy Tony, and he had a couple, and it kind of spawned off from there. But the bike stuff, like when I go on eBay all the time and I start looking for certain things, and I mean, can you believe that some of these bicycles cost as much as, well, before the inflation craziness, they cost almost as much of, if not more than, a freaking car or a truck, dude.
Oh, definitely, dude. And a little story off that, and I can't remember. I'm thinking probably within the last 10 to 15 years is when BMX stuff like really started popping on eBay.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been eBaying since 97. Well, I discovered it just coming across, I don't remember what it even was, like might have been a Redline bike that sold for $3,000 or some shit like that. And I was like, oh my God, I still had my original, well, it wasn't the original JMC, but I was friends with the owner of the bike shop here in town, and it was like 85, 86, something like that. He had told me, JMC's getting ready to go out of business, so I bought a frame and fork and put it away.
Really?
Had it all those years. It never got ridden as a regular bike. When the lowrider bike scene came in, we kind of lowrided it out and rode it around the yard and stuff like that, but never rode it hard. JMCs were also famous for cracking. They were either really nice or they were a piece of crap. But anyway, I started seeing all these things pop, and I'm like, man, and I threw that frame and fork on there, and it sold for over $3,000. Then I went through my BMX Action and the magazines from that era, the skateboard, Trans World, stuff like that. And, dude, I made more money that year on eBay than I did my regular job. I got the certificate from eBay about being the gold outstanding seller or whatever the heck it was.
Wow. That is
and
insane.
I got rid of a lot of stuff that I probably wish I didn't, but, you know, it was in my attic. I hadn't looked at the stuff forever.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
And what's funny, keen listeners will just hear, I think I just heard an eBay alert a second ago. Dude, what crazy,
We
right?
got to have those.
Right, we've got to have those. It's like the Ring doorbell. It's like, I'm like, oh, eBay.
If it says NOS and S-10, I get an alert.
Exactly. Don't give away all the secrets. But, you know,
No doubt, right?
what's crazy is there was I was trying to find it. So a few years ago, there was a GT Performer. I think it was an 87. I think it was a GT Performer. And it was new in box. It had never been opened. And it was something where, you know, it got stored away and they forgot, whatever. So, like, it sold a few years ago for, like, you know, it was like $3 or $4 maybe $5 they were asking. I forget it. But it was kind of in that range. Well, whoever bought it, you know how this stuff will kind of move to the next person, and then they go, well, you know, the market's good, whatever. Well, it was just on eBay recently, and it was like something like $15 or $20 for the buy it now, dude.
Oh, wow.
And,
still in the box?
Yeah, it was still in the box, and they had, by then, the other seller, they had opened it, and, you know, but the paper was still wrapped around it and stuff, and it's crazy to think. Now, granted, you know, your average guy, like, you know, especially me, I'm not going to be able to go and maybe buy it, but I sometimes wonder if there's someone that's running a business and they just have so much money, they just go, well, I'm going to buy it for an investment, or I just got to have it. I mean, there's all those kind of people out there.
Well, I've been basically a hoarder my whole life. Yep. I didn't throw nothing away. But I when I started doing this stuff here, found the eBay, and I was like, it's like the ghetto lottery. Buying things you think might be worth some money later on.
Right. Dude, I like that, man.
And all of our stuff, all of the toys, man, that we had in the 80s, all that stuff's big money now, man.
It is.
Crazy.
Yeah, I just saw some people that went to one of the toy conventions. It might have been in Canada this past week, and I saw people were posting stuff up, and you kind of zoom in on the photos, and you're like, damn, you paid $100 for this, $300 for that. Like, you know, these people are going out there, and they're spending a lot of money, and it reminds me of a story. Tony and I ran into a guy in town, and I won't go through the whole thing. I've kind of mentioned some in the past, but he goes on to say that he goes to these bike conventions all over, and he's like, yeah, I went to this one and spent $20,000, $30,000 buying Fiolas, buying this, buying that. And at first I was kind of like, man, this guy could be just making this stuff up. And then we started talking more, and he showed us some stuff, and I was like, God damn, like, this guy is like, he could have a BMX museum, you know, but it's just crazy that if you're passionate about stuff that, I mean, obviously, you know, it's like it kind of gravitates towards you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But,
if you see that some of the videos too of my painter, he's got, I bet, 50 bikes, probably more than that, honestly, in his garage. And, you know, from the 80s on up, he's one of them. He collects those newer, SE Flyers.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of those guys that like that stuff. But,
yeah.
Well, you know, you kind of talked about, you know, moving around 10 years old out to Ohio. Talk to us, like, what was the bug? Now, obviously, I know, you know, the connection there with your dad, right, when you were younger. But, like, was that it? Or did you see trucks, like, in the 80s and go, dude, I want to do this kind of truck stuff? Or how did all that work?
I would probably say mid-'80s, maybe 13, 14 years old. One of my dad's buddies had probably like a 78, 79 Toyota that was made into a dually with a sleeper on the back. And I don't know if that was stock or if that was something somebody had done, but I fell in love with that. And I remember drawing that truck so much and saying, I want that truck. That was, and in my brain, it was kind of like a semi. It had the dually. So, I was going to the truck stops with my dad. We would travel, and I wanted the chrome ladies on the mud flaps and stuff like that. Kind of the trucker influence, a bunch of chrome, which, I never did end up with that truck. Along with the BMX racing, I was introduced to that from an older cousin that I had that had a brother, and both of them guys later on had, I want to say, 84, 85 Toyota SR5s.
Wow.
And that was probably my first introduction to actually seeing mini trucks that were modified, that I knew that had been changed. Both of them were kind of like that hot rod influence. They had maybe 8 or 10 inch wide center lines or welds on the back and little 4-inch wide on the front, and they would drop the front, pull the torsion bars out the front, so it had a nice rake.
Yep.
And then one of them was an extended cab, the older cousin, and it had the kicker box, if you remember back in the day, that had two 10s, and it looked like the third one in the middle that was a passive radiator.
Kind of.
And 2 punch 150s, the old school 150s. And I remember, I don't know if I should say this on here either, but it's the first time I ever smoked weed in his system. I thought my ears were bleeding. I mean, legit kept rubbing on them because I thought they were bleeding. Listening to Iron Maiden as loud as you could possibly think, man.
Dude, that is the life, bro.
It was crazy.
If we had a time machine, we could go back to that era right there, bro.
Oh, no doubt, dude. It was pure.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Everything was pure back then. And anyway, that cousin would be, later on, he would be the one that actually painted my green and white truck.
Oh, really?
With the slime on it. He did the original paint job on that truck, which he died later on. But, so he was a big influence on me as far as mini trucks and the style. That same Toyota later on had a target top, and I think it was a Radical ground effect kit that I had sold him. Topper, Lear topper with frameless back glass. It was just badass. I mean,
oh, yeah.
For the day. We didn't have no adjustable suspension quite yet at that point.
Oh, yeah. We're talking to Johnnie Garage Johnson. We'll talk more about his Hardcore Garage YouTube channel in a few minutes here. I would highly suggest please go out there. He's on the verge. Congratulations on the cusp of 5,000 subscribers. I
think I need 42.
Yeah, that's a great number. So Airhead Nation, please go out there. I'm going to subscribe for my personal YouTube right now, so there's one less you need to get to 5K. But when you mentioned Ohio, dude, I love in your videos the I'll call it your compound or your little sanctuary, whatever. Is that where you live now?
Yep. I am in, I guess they want to call it Midwest Ohio. We are probably less than an hour away from Kentucky.
Got it. And it's
I'm way southern.
It's such a beautiful place that you have, and you have your garage. Obviously, we'll talk some about that, but did you have this vision when you ended up buying this place of going, hey, man, I want to this is going to be my hoarder heaven, or what was it?
Oh, yeah, dude. I remember it'd probably been 92, 93, drawing a picture of exactly the way my house looks right now.
Really?
And I'll tell you, to be honest, my house is pretty big. I think it's 42, just shy of 4,300 square foot with the 2 levels. The bottom is all garage, and I loved it. But I'm 51 now. I'll be 52 in December, and climbing these stairs is a bitch. We are honestly looking at elevators. You can get a really decent elevator for less than $5,000 nowadays.
Wow.
Which is crazy. But yeah, it's the BMX and the skateboard, I think, just pretty much ruined my knees from back in the day. So
yeah, and people don't think about that, but a lot of us are like, oh man, it'd be great to have a barnuminium, or like what you're talking about with your compound and your garage and stuff. But then, to your point, there is the other side of it where you kind of go, well, man, in hindsight, like I've had fun all this time, but hey, the good thing is with technology, you could add something like that to make, to aid it on your body,
Definitely. And I'd always recommend, that was my plan all along, garage on the bottom, live up top. But I would tell anybody now is build your house next to it with a breezeway or something like that.
Yeah, awesome.
Now, I love the access. I can come down here when I want. It's hot. It's it's heated and cooled, same as my house, so it's always the right temperature. It's never, never balls sweat or nothing like that when I go in my garage. So that part's great.
Yeah,
but at the same time, with the design, you really don't want to run cars inside because anything or paint or anything, any kind of fumes go upstairs.
Right.
So
Now, circa
you got to be prepared for it.
Right, exactly. Now, circa what year do you think, like, did you guys build your place? Like, are you talking, like, in the 90s maybe or early 2000s?
No, this house was built in, we bought the land in 96, got married here in 97, and didn't move in until 2002. Kind of built the bulk of it out of pocket.
Wow.
We had a really good situation where we were staying. My mom, she took care of veterans, so somebody has to be there 24 hours a day. So my wife, that was kind of her job for a while, and we had free food, free utilities.
Amazing.
So
Dude, that's
the perfect
cool.
situation, you might want to say. There was no reason to move out until we had our house built.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you kind of giving the backstory. And that's one of the cool things, or some of the insight that you're giving is, like, when I watch your videos, like, I'm like, you kind of inspire me to go, well, I need to get my ass off the couch and go work, you know? And I've heard people say that about me, but literally I'm kind of passing it on to say, well, dude, I've seen your videos and you inspire me, like I said, to get up and go. But it kind of makes sense because I'm like, sometimes I'm thinking, man, it's kind of late. I don't want to go out of my garage right now. But you have a cool setup. Does it help you in being able to go, you know what, I'm going to stay up till like 2 a.m? Or as you're getting older, are you finding yourself maybe not like working as much overnight?
Well, I definitely don't stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning anymore, but I might get up at 2:30 and come down here.
Really?
If I fell asleep, at 9 or 10 o'clock on the couch watching some TV, I almost always come down in the mornings, and that's when I get my most work done. I generally wake up about 4:30, and I don't have to work until 8 if I have to work that day.
Dude, that's
so
hardcore, bro. Pun
3
intended.
hours of time. Yeah, I mean, it's just everyone's asleep. The house is quiet. There's no distractions at all. So to me, that's the best time, man, is mornings.
And that's a dedication, though. I mean, to me, like when you love something so much, we're going to talk about these S-10s and all your cool stuff you got in a minute, but when you love something so much, whether it's Lincolns or BMX or in this case mini trucks, dude, it must just like flow through your mind 24/7 almost.
Oh, definitely. And same with your job. If you can find something that you love to do, then you don't never feel pressured to do anything, really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, I've been curious because I've seen some of your posts, and I like how YouTube, you can even post a photo, and you can kind of do thumbs up and that type of stuff. But I've seen things where you talk about doing, like, some reno at the house, renovations and stuff. What do you do, like, for your normal day job, if you don't mind us asking?
I own a garage door company. I'm semi-retired is what I like to say right now, because during the COVID, we kind of discovered that I didn't need to work nearly as hard as I was. So I quit selling and installing doors, and I'm just doing service now.
Awesome.
And basically, if your spring breaks on your garage door, I come and fix it, or if your panels are beat up, I'll replace a panel or something like that, put an opener up. I don't do any commercial work anymore. That business was started in 2005, so I got almost 20 years in on garage doors now.
Yeah, amazing.
Which is also my longest job I've ever had.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah. I've had a ton of jobs. I don't stick around very long. I've always had a side hustle to where I didn't have to depend on somebody. If I didn't like a boss or didn't like what I was doing, I bounced.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've seen you post about being kind of the garage door, like being a guru with them, right? And it's kind of one of those things where if you think back to like when people, I guess like I've seen things in the 50s and 60s when these Suburbans started popping up and, people could afford a house and stuff. But like almost every house in every state, well, not every house, but so many houses have garages, right? And those springs and things like that do go out. So it is kind of a good maintenance type thing to be in, I would think.
Oh, yeah. Yep. It's constant work. I'm busy as I want to be every week.
That's awesome.
So.
Yep. And then down here in the Florida area, I don't know a lot about it, but I think like now with the Florida building code and stuff, you have to have certain, and I'm sure you experience some of this up there with storms and whatnot, but you have to have certain, higher end panels and things like that. And that's kind of crazy stuff.
You guys have wind load doors down there, which I've never had to install any. They're pretty sturdy doors with a lot of back bracing. And some of them even have like concrete anchors, to anchor the center of the door right to your concrete when you know a storm is coming.
That's nuts, right? Yeah. It's crazy how things have changed. But I'm looking at your YouTube channel now, and there's like one of the videos that you posted about 7 months ago, but it was, this one sticks out. How many Chevy S-10s can fit in a garage? The one thing that I've noticed about your love for S-10s is you have a whole like plethora of them, all different kind of genres and whatnot. Talk to us
Okay,
about
well,
maybe
to be fair, those pictures and those they're not mine.
Okay, I figured they maybe weren't all yours. But talk to us, like, when did you get your first S10?
I still have it. My very first one is the one that later on became the green and white splash truck,
Yep.
Slime Time, an 89 S10. I got it. I graduated in 89, went to Dayton to ITT for college or whatever the tech school, and I was driving my parents. They had an 85 ASC McLaren, which later on would become mine, and I got into a wreck in a traffic circle. So when I came home that weekend, I had to have another vehicle for school, so we went and bought a bone stock white, no radio, no AC, no power, nothing, S10 straight off the lot. And that's the one that I still have that's torn clear apart. Only had 72,000 miles on it when it got tore apart in 94.
Wow.
And has never been back on the road since.
Wow. Now, what's the plan for it for those that maybe haven't got a chance to watch some of your videos?
It's got an all-metal Targa, walk-through, suicide doors with the door tops are removed and welded onto the cab. It's got a topper with windows, a sprint box, Texas tails molded in. I hate to even say this because it seems like every time I come up with some good idea, somebody steals it. But we actually found 2 brand new NOS still in the 4-door Blazer kits, and I cut them up and made the Blazer side skirts fit that S10.
Dude, you're a jack of all trades.
I've never have seen that before. Well, no, I guess I won't say me. I designed and think up the stuff, but my dude Aaron Lynch from Lynch Concepts, the Reality Factor, he is the mastermind behind making all the stuff, that the crazy ideas that I come up with. He's the one that does them.
Yeah, that's sick, dude.
It's got molded in rear. It's a Stillen kit, front air dam. We actually had to take the rear because somewhere along, there's been so many different changes of the style since '94. You know what I mean? I got these ideas in my head of how I wanted it to look, and then 10 years later, it's still apart, and you're like, I don't even want that anymore. At one time, I wanted like the '56 Buick look with those graphics. If you can think about how that is, had the 3 little portholes on the hood, and kind of 57 Chevy-ish, and I wanted the airbrushed chrome and all that on there, and then just later on, the OG thing started coming back, and I'm like, man, you know what? We need to just put that thing pretty much back to the way it was, but make a version that if I had the money that I got now when I was 19, 20 years old or whatever, that's how it would have looked.
Right. Wow.
So, you know, I mean, everything that's in it that I've been collecting so far is mid-90s and down. You know, the Punch right now I have a Power 650 amp to go in it if I don't find the Power 1000 by the time it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
The Dayton wire wheels. It's got a 7390 Alpine pull-out cassette player.
Sick, dude. I know, like, when you're unboxing some of these things, or, you know, just some of the stuff I see in your videos, I'm going, dude, it's mind-blowing. You did a video, and I'm trying to remember because there's so many trucks. You did a video where you found a really, really super clean S10 from an older gentleman, I think. And you went...
a lady, older lady.
A lady. And, dude, how do you... You don't have to give away all the secrets, right? But, you know, I'm into the Lincolns, and I know you subscribe to my channel. I appreciate that. And the Lincoln stuff is kind of hard to find, but the stuff you're finding in these clean trucks, like, it truly is like a pursuit, isn't it?
Well, I call it treasure hunting.
Yep.
But I think also because I've been doing it long enough, and people people know that I don't bullshit.
Yep.
That they'll call me. You know what I mean? When they have something for sale, and I get first dibs on a lot of things that way. Because I don't want to play around. I'm not going to try to, dicker with your price. If you got a price in your head and I want it, I'm going to pay that price.
Yep.
That's just the way it is.
Yep.
And I will travel just about anywhere to get what I want.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing, because here's the way my mind works. I think, like, I had some extended family that had lived in Ohio for a while. I think it was my aunt. And, I've been there, but in my mind, being a Florida dude, I think of that's like a Rust Belt area, right? It could just be in my head. My wife, she's from Pittsburgh. So how do you find these trucks that are so clean? Or is it just like the older folks that maybe just had them in the garage for so long?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I guess if you want to say barn find, that's the word people love to throw around. But if you look now, and I think the prices are really what's driving them out. There a lot of people have S10s that they just bought and didn't really drive that much.
Yeah.
It wasn't a super nice car that you took to the movies, and it just when you needed a pickup truck, it was a super affordable thing to have.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like the cameo, that's one of the words that pops up in your little intro that I love.
Yeah.
The cameos, talk to us a little bit about those, man.
89, 90, and 91 were the only years, and there's so much debate over the amount of numbers that there were. People used to say there was 37 89s. Well, we pretty much have shot that out of the water. I've been keeping track for probably every bit of 15 years, and I've got more than 37 on my list of ones that I know for a fact exist. So
37.
there's definitely more than 37. Probably maybe 370 might be more of a reasonable guess. 490 or 471 in 89, and then back to 370, I think, in 90 or 91. I'm sorry. That's also when they did the front end change to the one-piece grill and the round fog lights. The Cameo was kind of the very first sport truck that there was. That, I mean, they had sports obviously before that, but as far as ground effect styling and all that, I don't know if they had the Typhoon in the back of their mind already, but this was like the test to see if people would buy into that, the sporty looking trucks. And
yeah, and what's crazy is if you look back, I collect magazines as you do to a certain extent, and when I look back at the old sport truck and those advertisements around that era, you had kind of that OBS truck that was making its waves, right? Eventually, I don't know all the history on OBS when the 454s and stuff came out, but that era, dude, I look back to the advertising and stuff and just go, dude, it was super sick, man.
yes, I love the ads.
Yes. Yeah, they're awesome.
Also, in that whole line, a lot of people don't know that GMC had a version of the Cameo called the Californian ST, which was basically identical, other than had the GMC grill. And it's reported, I have the ad actually still somewhere, that there was only 50 of them.
Really? And that was pre-Cyclone?
Yep.
Wow.
And I've seen, I think, 3. I think I've seen 2 red ones and a white one.
Yep. Do you think,
and of course, the first Cyclone, those extended cab, top speed Cyclones, they had a modified version of the Cameo kit on them.
Yeah, interesting. I know that's what I always like. I think of those as like a spinoff, right? As like a stepchild, ish. But the California style, I have seen ads, or I've seen a write-up on that before. And no, were those technically like an S15? Or, because I always got confused over the S15.
Yep, S15 is just the GMC version of the S10. There's absolutely no difference. One's not longer, bigger, better, nothing.
Got it. Now, my dad had...
Same options all the way across the board.
I spent many days and many miles in an 88 Jimmy, dude. That's what my dad had when I was a kid, man. And I was looking on eBay the other night, getting ready for this interview, and I was looking for S10 stuff, rare stuff. I was like, man, what goes through Johnny Garage Johnson's head, right? And sure enough, it pops up on there on eBay, and it was the same gauge cluster from the Jimmy, and it looked like it was, it wasn't brand new, but it looked brand new. And it was something, going for like $130 or whatever, And it just brought me back to that era before, stuff got crazy with the computers and stuff. Like even 94 S10 that I had, it was right before they really started adding the airbags and all that stuff. And to me, like 88 to like 94, there's so much gold out there, man.
And if you got extra cash, you should be buying up S10s specifically, just because I like those. But mini trucks, or really any low mileage car from 1980 to 1990, whatever. Yeah, it's going to be gold.
Yeah,
people are they're tripping.
Yeah, and it's crazy how like a lot of that stuff in the 80s. We think back to a lot of the clunker 80s GM cars and stuff, and I look back at them and say, God, like the Cavalier and this and that, and, kids that I knew that they had them, they were customized, like the Chevettes and stuff. And then you think, like, how could any of this stuff ever be cool? And then you kind of get to, like, now where it's like a brand new truck, $60,000, you kind of go, well, man, I'll take anything. Something that was $500 before is like $3,000 now. So
yeah,
it is crazy.
And you can fit 2 S10s in the spot that a normal truck will fit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, a true mini truck.
That's my logic to my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it, man. So, talk to us about some of the other, because when I go through my head, I'm thinking green, I'm thinking red, I'm thinking this. You have several different ones in your stable right now, right? These dimes.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about some of them.
Well, right here at the house, we got the red Cameo. I'm just looking out. I got my garage door open. The red Cameo is sitting there. The green, which is an 89, the green 91. Lime Juice is what we've kind of named it, with the wires.
Yep.
It's got hydraulics on it. Been playing around with that, having a lot of fun hopping that thing, and it's kind of been something to train me to get ready for getting my original 89 back, because it is also has hydraulics. I've got the 03 four-wheel drive out there that is my work truck that's got the racks and everything on it. The 90 is kind of, my dad drives it. It's kind of a retro 50s, if you want to say. He's got the Moonies and the little like cop lights on the front and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And then in the back, I've got 3 parts trucks, and they're all 92s, 2 standard cabs and then 1 extended cab. And then in the garage right now, I've got the 93 Typhoon, and I'm actually sitting in the back of it talking to you.
That's sick, dude.
There's the 89, the one that's the red with the fade D90 stripes, and the 91 ST, the super clean black one. They're at my mom's in winter storage, and then the original 89 is at Aaron's still, so that's 11 S10s altogether.
Now, that's insane. When you think back, there's one part that comes to mind, my favorite mod on trucks, the listeners will know, and there's one like rare part on these trucks I love. What's the one thing, like if somebody were to say, and you probably own it or you own the truck, but like if you think about these S10s, right, from this era, whether it's a part or a specific make or model, is there one thing to you that in your heart is like the holy grail?
2 things, actually, and we probably are going to agree on one thing.
Yep.
Number one, we'll start with number one, is the CR Laurence window.
Yes, ding, 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 you got mine.
And I actually have both their windows. I have the power slider, and I have the power light limo style.
I remember hearing you say that, yep.
The power slider is brand new in the box. I kind of want to put it in the ST just because it's such a nice truck too, but I just don't know yet. I went out and I bought an NOS four-wheel drive switch, which was almost $200.
Wow.
So I will have it, to look factory in the dash if I do decide to do it. And that's kind of what I did with the Cameo as well, is I used a four-wheel drive switch and some relays to make it, operate the window up and down.
Yep.
The second thing is probably, as far as like non-custom, just stuff that you can find, if you can find it, is the Checkmate tonneau covers, man. I love those things. I've had probably 15 to 20 of them in the last 10 years that I've bought and sold. Deep right in the beginning of the pandemic, my daughter went with me to Chicago doing 90 miles an hour in my work truck and passing cops, and there was only like 10 people on the highway and nobody gave a fuck. We blew through all the toll road, their boots and everything. Went up there and bought a brand new NOS. Again, how in the heck did that ever happen, that this thing was from 90s and no one ever used it? It was never drilled. I got the original instructions with it, plus a set of laminated instructions that the dude made for me just to have.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, going back to the first one, I loved your video, and again, you can check out Hardcore Garage on YouTube. Look for, just search Hardcore Garage, 2 words total. When you did the Power Light CR Laurence window installation, I loved it because there's a few videos that you'll sometimes find someone bumping the window, but really nothing in detail. And your video was a good installation video. I never even thought about it for the fact that the way you had to stick it through the back window, I guess I just never saw someone install it, so I didn't even realize. But you also had a little bit of a tight kind of installation too, right?
Super difficult installation, and people kept saying use a rope. Well, you can't get your hands behind the thing at all on the bottom, so there's no way to remove your rope if you did have a rope wrapped around it. The way that it extends in too, it's just so weird though. I was ready to give up several times. We were trying to put it in, but now it's like you said, it's my favorite thing at all. And
yep.
I love playing with the switch, and I can see people's eyes behind me in my rearview mirror when I'm at a stoplight, and I dropped it about 4 or 6 inches, and they're just like, "What?"
They're like, "That's not a Tundra," But
right. What is that? Is that a Del Sol?
Yeah, and I'm supposed to be getting one for the full size, the 88 to 98, or excuse me, the C30 that I have. But there was another guy that had a white dually that I used to hang out with, and he had one in that truck, and he's like, "Yeah, it has this really rear back window," and I don't know what it was, but I guess I didn't know about it at that time, how rare they were. And now I wish I would have gotten it, because those things, I've even reached out to CR Laurence. I have emails with them where I was like, hey, they're like, oh yeah, we made it from this to this. We stopped production in like early 92. They gave specifics. And I was like, well, look, with the popularity of the C10 being so popular, and oh, by the way, 88 to 98 OBS now, why wouldn't you bring it back? And they're like, nope, we won't do it. I was like thinking,
I think because I've seen 3 different versions. They all look basically the same, but the way that they were driven was slightly different. Some have cables, others had like a rubber spring system and stuff like that. I think they never quite perfected it, is why they just stopped doing them. I tried to buy parts off of them, and they're like, nope. They told me exactly what I needed. The gear tape is what it's called that runs my style, and I had to go look and find other cars that use that same stuff for their windows.
yeah, and you might be the only guy that knows this because you kind of have a footing with the accessories, and you've just been a fiend all these years, with all due respect. When I did like a deep dive, like every year or so, I start like diving into, roll down back windows, and I look in my photo album, and I'm looking for videos and just anything I can get. Even the old wagons that had them, to a certain extent. But
yes,
there's been people that have said the '88 Ford Ranger, quote, Bigfoot edition supposedly had a roll down window in it. And I don't know if it was a modded from like the
Ford
Bronco.
Explorer, like truck has one.
Right, but isn't that like the middle part, right?
Yes, not the whole back window. Right, you're right.
Yeah, and I found people that have said like an '88 Ford, and I don't know if some of our listeners may know, an '88, I think it was '88 Ranger, but it was, quote, the Bigfoot edition, supposedly had one. They're like, man, if you're ever at a junkyard, look for those. But, some of this stuff is so random, So
Right. Well, we're working off everyone's memory, too, so.
Right, we didn't have phones back then, right?
Well, because of the windows, also on that line, I've because I collect everything, I've tried to collect every glass back window that they ever made for an S10. The different styles of sliders, the power blimos, power slider, the breezer. I have one of those. It's in the 90. The only thing I don't have is a flex through.
Really? Yeah, the flex throughs, those are super cool.
And being that it's real glass, that's what blows everyone's mind, that they're able to flex that much with tempered glass and not pop.
Yeah, and you know who has really cornered the market on those? There's a page in the mini truck world, 720 Era brand, and of course, they're not S10s or 720s, but dude, they have posted so many of these guys on the West Coast, like New Minis and just so many different truck clubs, man. They have got. I have seen more of those flex windows on those 720s in one place in these photos than I've ever seen anywhere, and I think it's just insane how many, how many are still out there.
No doubt. That's one to do. The limo style. I remember seeing tons of those in full size. I never remember seeing any S10s. I don't never remember seeing any flex dues in an S10. Ben Osborne has one. I about try to kill myself not buying it off of him.
Yeah. Ben's a name that a lot of people know, especially listeners, and he's a true fiend, right? I mean that with all due respect. And I think, isn't he the guy that also he is Ben the one that he's trying to remake some of the parts, the Trends parts and stuff like that too? I'm trying to think if that was Ben, but I know he's
I'm not sure
he might be a collector of that. But here's why I do the deep dive. So I've never found this site before. I just did a quick search, and I landed on the rangerstation.com. Bigfoot Cruiser Ford Ranger. Scroll down, I'm like, okay, great photos. You can't really see the back window. Well, then here they go. They've got the pamphlet. In the mid-'80s, Bob Chandler and his Bigfoot trucks led one of the fastest-growing sports, blah, 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 and it kind of goes on. And it says the Bigfoot Cruiser started out as a dark shadow blue 87 XLT Ford truck. And it goes on to say, underlined, CR Laurence power back window. Dude, I finally have confirmation on that.
There you go.
But it's pretty cool that it extended to like something that, some package that you could have bought. It looks like in December 86 to June 87. Insane.
Right. They also had those in the Marlboro Cyclones that they were, they had the 10 that they gave away. They had the limo window in them.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep. Along with the targets out.
Dude, that is insane. That's pretty cool. Yeah, because you've got so much knowledge and history of just kind of those era trucks too.
And that truck, the Cyclone was the Targa one was made from ASC, which you heard me say. I had an ASC McLaren.
Yes. Way
back in the day, which I don't know if you've seen the videos of it. It was about the same color green as the S10 that I have. It had wires on it, but that was a limited production Mercury Capri. Back when the Capris looked like Mustangs.
Right, yeah. I've seen.
It was a convertible.
Yep. Yep.
That the top went down inside of a metal cover, tonneau cover, just like a Corvette or a Mercedes. So it was pretty ballin', man, for the 90s, or actually 85. So.
Yeah, and I've even seen some of those ads and stuff, looking up Lincoln stuff or Lincoln Mercury, and then boom, I land on that. It reminds me too, knowing that you love the trucks of that era. My buddy Tim Davis and I call him TD. We talk about, even though I guess at a certain age I was a fan of this, and then as a mini trucker I was kind of like, I don't like it. But when I look back and I see the Mustangs of the era from like Menace to Society with kind of the reversed offset wires. Dude, that gets the nostalgia going for me, man.
Yeah, that's my favorite style, honestly, is the 15x10 reverse offset, big, meaty wheel. We called it the fat look. You had the big Dumbo mirrors, and everything just sticking out and hanging out there like a fat chick in a bikini, man. The stretch tires, that was, I don't know if it was just in my brain, that was the funnest times of my youth, or what. I mean, that's the style that is my favorite. I mean, that's where it's at.
Yeah, that's one of the other reasons why I like watching Johnny Garage Johnson's Hardcore Garage channel, is like the lingo that you use. It's like perfectly, like you make me feel like you kind of transported out of the 80s, right, in the early 90s, and I love it, dude. Is that a good thing? Yeah, it's a good thing because it fits right in, and this is why I think YouTube is so great, right? Because you'll hear a lot of people say, well, hey, if you want to grow your channel, or you want to, get the views and stuff, you have to put the content out there. Well, that's what you've been doing, and all of your stuff just kind of flows together. That's your style, So I think that's
awesome, man. I appreciate the compliments, dude.
Yeah, man, for sure. Now, when I see some of your videos, right, I see like you got the Oakley display case. I've seen some sunglasses. I've seen the mirrors that you recently reopened. But I also see, like, in your garage, it kind of, some of the slatting or whatever on the walls, it kind of gives me a vibe of like an old school truck accessory shop. Do you have some of that stuff? Is that the vibe I'm getting?
Well, I owned a shop, 90, let's see, it would have been probably the summer of 90 till about 94. I had a truck custom shop. It was called Dreams in Motion, if you've ever seen that sign on the wall in the videos.
Ah, yeah.
And I sold a lot of stuff, and it's kind of sad. Life kind of happens to you. I got married and had a kid and built a house and all this, and kind of fell off on the whole mini truck part of it. And in the whole realm of moving from, where we were to our new house and stuff, I got really frustrated with a lot of the old crap that I'd been hauling around for the last 20 years. And man, I burned a bunch of stuff that I totally wish I wouldn't have, double wipers. And I burned up a convertible kit for an S-10 that was a display unit that I had made from my old shop. It was on pink felt, big old board. And I just didn't have the room in my life at that moment. I had a Harley, and I kicked myself in the ass. But that's kind of what you see is me, I guess, recreating kind of my shop.
Yeah, that vibe.
I mean, this, my garage isn't a place that I, do work for other people. It's all hobby in here, but I kind of wanted that feel, of a shop and a display area for whatever nicest vehicle that I have. I have a parking spot just specifically for whatever vehicle I want to sit there.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of, like, since you kind of were in the business for a while, right, and I think a lot of people, our friend Ron Perkins over, at Hammered Weekend Wear and some of our good friends, they've worked in the truck accessory business as well. But if you think about where trucks are now, the popularity, especially of the dimes and 88 to 98s and, of course, C10s have just exploded. Sometimes you kind of wonder, like, well, why wouldn't an OEM or why wouldn't one of these aftermarket companies go, hey, we're going to start making tonneaus again, or we're going to make the topper camper shells with windows, right? But I guess, like, you and I may love it and the listeners may love it, but the amount of research development and, like, to produce the parts, I guess there's just not enough people out there to buy them, right?
Well, I keep wondering, and I totally stand behind the statement 100%. Right now, anything that you do to a bone stock truck, you're taking away from the value. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Those trucks have moved into that, to the Chevelle and the Camaros. That's what they are now. They are. I mean, people can argue that they're not because it's just a cheap-ass truck. But the people like me that drove these when you was in high school, now you got the money and you want to have something nice, or, you know what I mean, nicer than you had back then. And I mean, you can see it, the prices at these things. Did you see the Typhoon just went for $185,000?
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now, if they would have had anything done to it, that never would have brought that kind of money.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
anything done to it.
Here's an example. Reyna Brothers, REYNA Bro Designs on Instagram. You know, many folks follow them, and he had posted just this week, and he says, "Well, I can't keep them all. He's got I think a 60 Caddy he's been working on, but this is an 88 to 98 OBS. It's the earlier years because it's got the older interior, 5.7 drop, 22-inch wheels, you know, wheelward brakes, no trade, super clean, regular cab truck. Okay, static drop, $40,000 is the asking price. Now, granted, you know what? It looks like the price isn't listed here. No, it is. It's on the actual image. It says for sale, $40,000 OBO. Like, when I saw that, like, I'm not taking away. I mean, dude, I'm going, hey, get your money, no problem. But it actually hit me today that that's a regular cab, early 90s pickup, right? Static drop, some wheels that probably going to get changed out and whatnot. And asking price of $40,000, it really hit me today. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, what could you buy a new truck for right now, though?
Yeah, I know.
You can't touch it. I mean, that's the crazy. I mean, my wife's little SUV was damn near $50,000 for a freaking Terrain.
You
know what I mean?
Isn't it crazy?
It's a Denali, but it's still a Terrain.
Yeah. No, that's. I guess you can't convince her to drive the S-10, right?
Occasionally, which honestly, to be the red S-10, the reason I got it was for my daughter.
Yeah.
But she just, it's got a little bit more modifications than I probably wish it had for her driving it.
Yep.
So she isn't comfortable driving it. Every time she's ever drove it, if it's not like concrete or blacktop, she gets into it a little bit too hard. That, you know, the gas pedal isn't quite like a new car, and she spins out, and and it scares the crap out of her. So she doesn't drive it too much. But my wife, she'll drive the heck out of the Cameo. She likes it.
Oh yeah. Now, from a buyer perspective, if somebody was, you know, we got hardcore, you know, mini truckers that listen to this. We've got some younger kinfolk that are kind of getting in the game and stuff. If somebody were to go, hey, I live in Minnesota, I live in Canada, I live in, you know, California, whatever the climate is, and they go, hey, I want to buy an S10. What would you give them, like, one piece of advice? Are you getting underneath it with the screwdriver, checking the rust? Like, what's your one piece of advice for someone that might be looking for a clean, square dime?
Just look over it, man. You should be able to tell when you crawl under a truck if it's had work done to it or not, or if it's still factory. You know, there should be some rust on almost any truck that's 40 years old. Make sure it runs good. An S10, they're super simple to work on, for one thing. If it's driving and riding good when you get it, you're probably not going to have any major problems.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
The door sag, you get a lot of that on an S10. That'd be something that you probably want to. And again, you know, door pins are easy enough to swap out.
Yeah.
I probably would encourage people to buy it regardless if they can afford it. Buy it.
Right.
You can always resell it. I guarantee it.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool to me to piggyback off that is, you know, we've seen the C10 market blow up. We're kind of starting to see the OBS market blow up. But mini truckers, you know, what we consider ourselves, we've never really had a crazy market for minis. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, you can start getting into the Cyclones. You can get into, you know, stuff here and there. But I think you're right. We really have gotten to a period where some of these trucks, I think, are going to continue to go up in value. Especially, like, I love the Mitsubishi, you know, Mighty Max. You know, to find one that's clean, it's not super cheap. Yeah, exactly. So that stuff, I think, is going to continue to go up in price.
Absolutely, and I'm not discouraging people to modify trucks, but I just, you know, all kinds of people say, hey, what are you going to do to that new ST? I'm like, it's got 33,000 miles. I'm not going to do anything to it.
Right.
I have 11 trucks. Why do I need to make every one of them? I in my brain, the ultimate to me would have been if I could have found an 89 white 5-speed Iron Duke that was just like my Slime Time and put it away. As, you know what I mean? Low mileage. That way I had exactly the way it looked on the lot, and I got the totally modified version.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I get so much looks. I mean, I get a lot of looks in driving any of the trucks, but just driving around that factory ST, I mean, old people, young people coming up to you at the gas station being, oh my God, I can't believe how nice this thing looks. What year is this? How many miles are on it?
Yeah. And I thought of, you know, I had that same feeling, like, because, you know, you and I have exchanged some comments here and there about the Lincolns. And it's like the 65 that I had gotten. It's such a nice car. Like somebody could be like, man, you need to cut this car. You need to put hydros. Dude, like you couldn't pay me 50 or 75 grand, maybe or 100 grand to even go, let's cut this car up. It's like that nice. And it's like, I finally got something that's nice enough to go, you know what? I would just not cut this car up. It's just that nice. You know what I mean? So
That's
I know
a
the
good
feeling. Yeah, it definitely is a good
it's a
feeling.
really good feeling. And I also got the 64 olds that's on air with wires. It's kind of the really screws with people's mind calling things lowriders and mini trucks.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing because with the minis, you have a couple stock. As you mentioned, you got the hydros. You have. I'm trying to think. You have one or two on bags. I know.
No, I have no S10s on bags.
No S10s on bags. For some reason, I thought you
nope,
did.
Just the 64. Yep.
Just the 64, and then the green one is the one that the green S10. It's Slime Time. That's the one that you've constantly kind of showed us. Like I remember when you first got it, you're like, man, is this thing gonna hop? And then you started to kind of do this whole refresh of the hydros.
Yeah, that's lime juice.
Slime juice. Or lime,
I know it's confusing.
Excuse me,
There's so many names.
It's lime juice, right?
Yeah, Slime Time is the original one with the
That's
slime
right.
paint job.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, dude, I pretty much rebuilt, rewired everything in there, and that was even back in the day. I never really had I guess maybe the knowledge to know how to hop a truck. I mean, my truck would get a little bit of air on like a second or third hop, but it's all about that rhythm and trying to get that thing to bounce like a basketball. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
And when you get that right into that rhythm, it feels so good. And it's like a kid playing. Do you remember those models they had, the Impalas that would hop?
Yes.
Back in the day with the cord and stuff? It feels just like a big one of those, man.
Yeah, it looks easy, but like you said, it takes a little bit of the patience and skill to get it down.
And you're beating the crap out of it. You know you are.
Yeah. I watched Long Beach Lloyd on YouTube, and he talked about that recently with the 61 that they call the kind of the Tupac. It was in the Live and Die in L.A. video, and he talks about hopping it, and he loves driving it. But he said, you really have to, as a lowrider guy with a hopper that you're driving, cruising the mean streets in Cali, you got to go back and tighten stuff. You got to check things, and obviously a lot of those cars are, box frames and stuff. But, I mean, we've all been at car shows when we've seen them blow out the ball joints and all that, and that shit ain't fun,
right.
As you get older.
Yeah, definitely not. It isn't no fun to be stuck on the side of the highway on the way home from a show for sure.
Right.
And you're talking about lowriders, man. Oh my gosh! I'm just in my brain. You think of all the gold and chrome that are up under them things, and I mean, them guys really, really put everything into their cars.
Yeah, and
it's a family tradition.
Yeah, it is, and you'll see them. As mini truckers, we got to a point where a lot of us started going, okay, well, I'm going to trailer my stuff because I got powder coated frames and I got chrome, this and that. But these lowriders, I mean, they will go and drive these cars, full graphics underneath them, hop them down the street, park them, clean them, and win Best of Show the next weekend at, they just had the Lowrider Super Show in L.A. at the Long Beach Convention Center. Dude, like, imagine a lot of those cars were probably out cruising around that previous week,
That's the cool thing. And I totally respect that. I guess from a young kid, I wanted a trailer queen. I don't know if that's what most people want. I hear people dogging them a lot of times, but I want a vehicle that is so nice, and that's kind of where I'm going with my '89 S10. This Slime Time, it looks so good you don't want to touch it.
Yeah, and when you have multiple, like if you have these other S10s that you love driving, this, that, old features. Yeah. Then, you kind of go, well, hey, I've got this one over here, and that's kind of the way Bada Bing has been. It's like I don't drive it a lot, but it brings me joy in a different way that maybe something else couldn't. You know what I mean?
It's a piece of art.
Yep.
Really.
I appreciate that.
Ghetto art. How about that?
Hey, that's my kind of art right there.
Right.
I don't know anything about Da Vinci.
We all have our thing that just, like you said, makes you happy, makes you smile. That's really what your truck should do, whether or not it's having to drive it or having to look at it sitting in your corner of your nice-ass garage and, it looks like some cherry pie that's ready to be eaten over there.
Yeah. Here's something crazy. I talked to an old buddy, and, he kind of, we've all had friends that got out of the truck stuff. Maybe you were a car guy, and and then they got out of it, and, they got married or, whatever. Their life went a different route, and they kind of got out of it, and that's what he did. He kind of totally got out of stuff, and he mentioned to me the other day, and he goes, man, I've, purged all those memories, the photos. He goes, I look at it as, like, it was a big waste of time and money. And there's some people like that. But I look at it, and hey, that's the way some people feel about this stuff. The way I look at this whole truck stuff is that it brings me a lot of joy to think back and look at the magazines and do and meet people like you that are so passionate about it. And I look at it and say, I'm never going to stop doing this kind of stuff. As long as I have the health to do it, I'm going to keep doing it because this is the shit I love. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, definitely. As long as you can. I mean, yeah, you if your buddy's not happy, then that's probably might be what's wrong with him.
Yeah.
But if he is, then that's great too, man. On that same line, I got, I don't know, maybe 10 tattoos. I ain't never been like heavily tattooed, but I've always thought when I look at my tattoos, I would sell them all back for the price I paid for them.
Yeah.
Because they don't mean anything to me anymore. I mean, I got them at certain points in my life, but it isn't really, it's not a story or nothing like that. My stuff's so random. It's just,
yep.
I feel that, you know what I mean, on a different level.
On a different level. And the other reason why it popped back in my head that I wanted to bring that up is behind, us, dudes that love what we do, and there's obviously some ladies out there as well, but, behind, like, the stuff that I'm doing, I'm in here recording, talking with you, I got an awesome wife that supports my, my truck habit, right? But you also mentioned your wife, and, you have to have a pretty cool wife to go, hey, let's build this cool little place, it's our house, but it's your sanctuary as well. And she kind of supports your habit, it sounds like, man.
Absolutely, man. She lets me run off with the neighbor anytime I want. My neighbor's guy, he's the one with the trailer and the rig and everything. Yeah, we've been married since '97. She's a wonderful person. I got one daughter with her that's going to be 20 and next Saturday, matter of fact. And yeah, she originally was going to the shows, way back in the day before we were ever married in the early '90s, Hamilton mini truck Nats and stuff like that. She went to that one with me.
Wow,
was a mini truck girl, kind of,
Yep. No, that's cool, and happy early born day to her, and it'll be this weekend, I think you said, but. A name popped in my head earlier that I wanted to ask you about, and I forget. I always want to say he was like Indiana, Ohio, but there was a guy you probably remember maybe hearing, Lenny Groover. I think it's Gruber.
Lenny Groover. Sure. He was in my wedding. Well, he wasn't in my wedding, but he was here.
No way. Like, if you think back, to the stuff that he built in that era, that truck was rebuilt twice. I saw it at SEMA 03 when it was the second version. That guy was doing some pretty innovative stuff, man.
Oh, definitely. They had some write-ups about him,
Yes.
kind of innovating the whole scene, bringing the hot rod, like the Boyd look over with that Carson top and stuff like that.
Yep.
Amazing dude, man. He is one of the coolest guys I probably have ever met doing this. And I met him, and I don't remember if it was if I'm just thinking of making this up, but I feel like that he told me when we went to the mini truck Nats in Pigeon Forge in '91, which would have been the second mini truck Nats. Wow. I threw one of my shop's Frisbees out the window just going down the highway, and they pulled over for whatever reason and found the motherfucker.
No way.
And that's how we made a connection later on.
Dude, that is insane. Well, if any of the listeners Google his name, Lenny, and I said it's Groover. I said it wrong.
Gruver. Yep.
And you'll see
Groovy's House of Hack.
Oh yeah. Was that what it was called? I didn't remember that.
Yeah, that's his garage name, and he is into vans now. He still has the truck, but he doesn't even screw with them.
Yeah, that's insane.
And do you remember his truck when it was white by any chance and had the fender skirt?
Yes, I do. And you know what? You are one of the few people that I know that could rattle that off. And it had like a cab visor, and I think it was red and white.
Do you remember the window visors that had the mirror incorporated in them?
No, I don't remember those.
It was the ones that just went up the A pillar. They didn't go on the top edge of the window. But anyway, I have those that were on his truck originally.
Really?
And they're going to go on my little wall art Blazer, at least the passenger side one will.
Yeah, that is sick, dude. Crazy. Yeah, To Excite You was when it was like the copperish color, right? And then it was originally
it was green before that.
Green before that with those crazy wheels, and then obviously
and the color was actually called Summer Yellow, but it had a green pearl, is why it made it look green.
Ah. That's sick,
solid
dude.
topper. He was one of the first guys that I remember having hydraulics that was ran off of his power steering pump.
Dude, that is insane. Yeah, he we'd love to get him on at some point if you bump into him. I'd love to have him on, but his truck, it kind of, before like there were the haters, I think it would probably got hate, people going, well, why would you do this, that? And then he did the license plate that said "Talk Now." When
Talk Now.
And it was kind of like, all right, man. But he was stirring stuff up before, it's like a fad now, right? To like rile people up and stuff. But he was building cool shit going, dude, this is who I am in my 89 Chevy extended cab fucking S10, man. So
he got, his truck got hit with a bottle. I want to say it like Indy Bash. And he got out of the car and asked the dude, what's your problem? And the guy said, this thing's too nice.
What?
And that was pretty much the last time that he took it to any shows. He said, that he just was disgusted with the mini truck scene, that's what they had turned out to be, and he got into the vans.
Wow.
Never took the hit. That truck has been sitting in the trailer ever since.
Yeah, that's insane. I posted a photo back in like December 2019. Lenny had posted on Facebook back in like 2013, and I had taken a couple that I had found that I took at SEMA 03, that first year I went. And, it's crazy that a lot of people wouldn't even, there's not a lot of photos floating around. I mean, it's kind of, before digital cameras and cell phones and all that really, really blew up. But, dude, I'm glad that dude, I wasn't expecting you to start rattling that stuff off. That's pretty cool, man.
Well, he was also on the cover of the Scholastics Kids magazine.
Really?
Do you remember that, for the Monster Garage or some shit?
Dang.
That they actually gave to kids in school. It was a Monster Garage edition or something like that, and it had his truck on the cover. Dude. Of it. A Scholastic Book Fair thing.
Dude, you're not triple OG unless you got that under your belt. You know what I'm
No
saying?
doubt, right?
Dude, I'm like, dude, Lenny.
When they're giving your shit out to the grade school kids.
Yeah, it's 2022, and we're still talking about Lenny Groover because, again, he made that much of an impact. That's pretty cool, man.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that truck was just amazing. The dropped fender wells, and the Carson top would just always be infamous. And then you saw several other people, copy that style. If you want to say copy, what was the guy that had the blue round body that's super nice too? I think his topper actually lifts up and down.
Yeah,
there was actuators.
That one's changed a couple times. I think it was Cliff up in Connecticut.
Cliff was the guy's name.
Yeah, Cliff is a great guy, and I'd be willing, if he hasn't already said it, I'd be willing to say that he got, obviously, the nod of that is from Lenny's. You know what I mean? So.
And then was his the green one or the blue one?
His was the green one that I Hate Phil owns now in Florida. I'm pretty sure.
All white
got
interior?
the connection. Yep.
Okay, yep.
And then you're right, there was the blue one, and I kind of forget about that one.
I always remember seeing it at Indy Bashes.
Yep.
The main place.
Well, here's something cool is my buddy at LCD Podcast, Lowest Common Denominator, his nickname is LMC, and he sent me an old VHS camera. Now, it wasn't, they went to the tinier film tapes, and then he sent me the one that I had from after that, which were the little bit bigger tapes. They were thin, but they weren't, they were bigger. And I've been pulling in a bunch of old video that I'm going to be putting on the OLP YouTube page. But I went to Indy Truck Bash in 01 and 02, and I totally forgot, dude, how much footage my buddy and I took. And, man, they were just epic times, man. I'm so glad I got to go.
I can't wait to see that if you're going to post it.
Yeah, I'm going to be posting. I kind of chop it up a little bit here and there. But I just wanted to ask you a couple more questions. When you think about the S-10s, right, I remember riding in my dad's 88 Jimmy, and I get just a huge kick out of looking at these trucks now, whether they're extended cabs, which I just absolutely love, or the regular cabs. What are a couple of your favorite things in them? Like, is there like a rare, like some of them had power windows, or is there anything like that you really like about these trucks from a feature perspective?
I prefer 4.3 automatic with AC.
Yeah, there you go.
All of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of my favorite things about any of my S10s is a cassette deck. When I get in there, I throw in a cassette, and you're in the time machine because you're only going to listen to music that was from that specific era.
Dude, I love it, and I tell you, I recently acquired, I won't go in the whole story, I recently acquired a cassette home stereo system from a friend, and it's kind of a family heirloom type thing. But I recently got a chance, I had went a while without a cassette player. And I recently put a cassette in, and it brought me back because, like, when that tape gets to the end and it goes click, like, I remember flipping the tape, right? And you flip it and you hit play, and then you've got that little bit of span, and then it comes in. But you're right, dude. Like, listening to the music from that perspective, it just really brought me back to being, like, a kid in the 80s and early 90s buying cassettes, man.
Yeah, you get those feelings internally from this, that music, whatever I don't know, my whole life is kind of narrated by different song lyrics. I don't know if you see, on Hardcore S10, that's what I post every day. As I look at your truck, and what's the first thing that pops into my mind, and movie quotes too from the same era.
Right.
But yeah, that stuff was just so ingrained into us, the music that we listened to and the things that we watched.
Yeah, and speaking of that, I wanted to mention I had not made the connection until later on after I was following you on YouTube. But we've hinted about this Facebook group, but Hardcore Garage is the Facebook group that you created, almost going on 10 years ago?
Hardcore S-10.
Oh, Hardcore S-10, sorry. Hardcore S-10.
Yeah, and Hardcore Garage kind of bloomed off of that, and then we also have Hardcore Mini Truck, which doesn't get played with nearly as much just because I don't have enough time. But
right.
Yeah, Hardcore S-10 was just, it basically started because I collected pictures of S-10s, so I wanted a place to put them all. When I started doing that, people were like, "Why don't you let other people look at this?" And I was like, "Okay." So, and now we're on the verge of 35,000 members on that, and Hardcore Garage kind of bloomed up when I got into a motorcycle wreck. We were talking about that earlier. I got hit by a car on a motorcycle in August of 17, and I have nothing to do. And we live on the second floor of the house, and I couldn't go up and down the stairs by myself, so I started making videos. And kind of bloom from there. You have to get the 1,000 members or subscribers and the 4,000 watch hours and all that crap to get monetized. And I never even really thought of it like that at first. It was just something to kill the time. But then a couple other people in our town here are pretty big YouTubers, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, make a couple extra bucks for doing something that you already want to do and you enjoy.
Yep.
Maybe I can help some other people with some minor things. I'm not like really a how-to necessarily guy. It's more of a, this is how I did it.
Right.
When I show my videos, you know what I'm saying?
And it helps. I mean, I enjoy watching how other people work, too. Because it kind of makes me realize, like, well, hey, I do it similar, so I must be doing it the same or doing a decent enough job. Or it reinforces to me to get my ass off and start working on something.
And I will be surprised at how many things I find when I am videotaping, when I go back and start editing or watching through. Like, a good example is I was trying to find a leak in one of my S-10s, and I thought I had it whooped. I go to the car wash, and I throw my camera under the dash, and I'm like, whoa, yeah, it's great. And then I start watching back, like, oh, there's another leak right there. I can see it. So then I'm zooming in and find the other leak.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And you mentioned the song lyrics. That's one thing I've always done, but I remember one day I jumped in there and you had posted some Rakim lyrics, right, from the 18th letter, and I was like, dude, like the cool thing about you too is like the era you grew up in, you're not like just like Van Halen or just Megadeth or whatever your genre is. You're kind of like me. I tend more to be for hip hop, but I listen to everything. I got Van Halen tapes, all that stuff. So that's cool. That's one aspect that I love is that you got that diversity.
Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Easy.
Yeah.
You'll get culture shock listening to my iPod.
Yeah.
Well, might even be some Cher in there, and I don't even really like her that well, but I'll listen to
it. Going back to your favorite stuff with the S10, one thing that I've always liked, and I don't know why, is the way the tailgate is, how it kind of has that little dip in the tailgate. I always thought that was kind of cool. And I know some people, the mini truckers, from a mod perspective, they'll put the Cali combo or they'll kind of shave all that.
Yeah.
But I always thought, like, I guess it was a design element of the why they wanted it that way. I've never owned a square body dime, but it's just one thing that I always thought was unique about those trucks.
I guess I would probably, that would have been one of my least favorite things about the S10.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I've got one, two, I think maybe two of them that are shaved, the gate. But another thing that you might notice, speaking of the tailgate, is when you drop the gate, there was a difference in the tailgate. So the earlier ones had like 4 holes across and were kind of uncomfortable to set on. And then later on, they came out with the ones that had 2 large sections, which we called the 2-butt tailgates.
Right. Okay.
So something to kind of look for if you see people with their tailgates down, you'll notice a difference. Nothing at all, and it may have been the same time when they changed from going with the embossed letters to the big sticker instead too. So
yep, yeah, good stuff.
It's always not neat to see those different changes in the years of the trucks and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Well, dude, I would highly encourage everyone, as I've said throughout this, is go on YouTube right now if you can. Type in Hardcore Garage. You'll see the banner there with the 3 trucks. You'll see, obviously, the little avatar, Hardcore Garage. I love what you do, man. I would stop and just do a quick public service announcement and remind people, please visit HAMMERD weekendwear.com. That's Hammered Weekend Wear. Order some of the gear. Show Ron, Hank, and team that you love some Hammered Weekend Wear. We appreciate it if you guys do that. Dude, like we've talked about so much, and I kind of feel like I want to keep going, but I was like, all the stuff in my head that I wanted to kind of pick your brain on about kind of your compound and your trucks and your awesome little setup that you got there. Like, dude, it's just been a pleasure to kind of sit down with you, Johnny Garage Johnson, and talk, man, talk trucks.
Oh, definitely, dude. I'm so glad we got this chance to hang out for a little bit, and hopefully we'll get a meet up in person sometime and maybe talk a little more in depth about some things. And
yeah, I can't wait.
Plans for the future and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the other public service announcement that I would give folks is dropped on Instagram, DROPT, dropped out, and then COM, dropped out com on Instagram. That is dropped and destroyed, and that takes place in Melanie Lake, Uniontown, Ohio, September 10th and 11th. And it used to happen, Johnny Garage Johnson, at the prison where they filmed
Mansfield Reformatory.
Yep.
Yes, that was the greatest probably backdrop ever for a car show, man.
I think so. And what's cool is, these guys, they've been doing it for years and years and years. And since we might pick up some listeners from your region, I would encourage people September 10th and 11th, 2022, Melanie Lake, Uniontown, Ohio. I've heard of Uniontown. I've never been there. But, please, if anybody can get out there, get out to that event. It's a great one for that region. So
if you ever get a chance to come up near Ohio, man, hit me up and we'll try to hook up.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners since I talked your ear off for about a little over an hour?
I just want to give a shout out to a couple other people that support me on YouTube, Zip Tie Diaries,
yep.
Wrong Way Garage. But yeah, there's a lot of good people. If you go through my subscription list, you'll see most of those are good channels. Subscribe to our lifestyle podcast, of course.
Yep.
And Lincoln Addict yourself. I appreciate all the support, man, and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, man, keep on trucking, dude. We love the vibe. We love what you're doing. I know Mini Truck Matt, he's one of the subscribers as well, and I'm seeing some of the names pop up. But
yeah,
dude,
there you go. Mini Truck Matt's a good dude. He's been down here before. Oh, let me say one more thing also.
Yeah.
We do have a little, on the Hardcore S-10 page, we have a hardcore takeover is what we call it. It's here at my place the first Saturday of June. Just strictly S-10s. Sick,
dude. Yeah, that's really cool. And, man, you're living the dream. You're doing the stuff you want to do. And, again, he mentioned it's hardcore, one word, and then S10 on Facebook. You can join that, and you'll see Johnny Garage Johnson, all the stuff he posts and all the engagement that you get. I just love the shit, man. I really do.
It's awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah, stay on the rise, brother. And if we do make it up that way, we'll link up. And again, if you guys can make it out to some of those shows, I would appreciate, or that show that I mentioned there dropped out, that would be cool. But, man, take care, brother. And we're going to keep watching on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Have a good evening.
You too, brother. See ya. Hey, so as we wrap that up, I just want to thank Johnny Garage Johnson for coming on. This episode was a little bit different, right? So the longtime listeners will know that we often say we're going to try to keep it short and sweet, and that's not so easy for Mike or myself, especially myself. But we want to thank Garage Gear Clothing. You can visit garagegearclothing.com. They have free shipping. They have Garage Girl stuff. They have stuff for kids, dudes, sport trucks, you name it. They've got a lot of cool stuff. Okay, the West Coast Influence. If you love mini trucks, visit minitruckfilm.com. There's a documentary about the mini truck scene and how the West Coast influenced it. You can buy that at minitruckfilm.com. Let Radar know that our lifestyle podcast sent you by adding OLP to the notes when you check out. Joey at Get Decked. If you're a show promoter or you want to put your vehicle on a skate deck, even one deck, he can make it. Joey, it's Get Decked, 2 words, on Facebook or Instagram. Send him a direct message. He just made our Best of Awards for 2022, and he's doing a lot for many show promoters out there. I mentioned Hammered Weekend Wear. Thank you so much to Ron, Hank, Adam, Dizzy, and everybody that helps contribute with Hammered Weekend Wear. We appreciate you guys. The last thing that I have is I did see earlier this week, and I want to send some thoughts and prayers and some good vibes towards Jeremy. Jeremy Brown, he is behind Built to Cruise, okay? And I saw Jeremy and his awesome wife at Lone Star Throwdown this year. Okay, Serena Brown, Jeremy Brown, she had posted earlier this week, y'all say a prayer for my honey. Jeremy was taken by ambulance yesterday to the ER from work. He had an incident where he passed out The neurologist thinks it's a possible seizure, and he is laid up in the hospital, sleeping or unconscious. Okay, Jeremy's a great dude, and please, please, please send some thoughts and positive vibes to the homies, to the big homie and to Serena. So they're great people. They're on Built to Cruise, and they've done a lot for the scene, and just generally good people. With that being said, we tried to keep it fresh this week. Shout out to everybody that supports us. We'll hit you, God, our Lord willing, next week with another one. Biatch.